Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an exciting one. We have Jian with us. I'm sure you know who he is from Twitter, from X, from YouTube. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Excited to be here. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. And we're going to look at a wildcard draft that Jan's put together. Bit of a different one, so let's get into that now. Right, okay, so on screen we have this wildcard draft that Jan's put together. It's a bit different to others. All you've seen so far on YouTube and everything is Haaland and Salah. So I thought we'd talk about something a little bit different today with just one of them. So we'll go through it from back to front. Obviously, Flecken in goal is the 4.5 option. Talk me through that one.
Yeah, so I like the fixtures a lot after 6. I think they're ones whereby the opposition are good, but not too good, where they can get enough shots in the game so that he can haul. Brentford concede, I think, enough mid-level XG shots or low-level XG shots where he's always in and around those save points, which I think is good. And I think at 4-5, it's really nice in general. I don't have Verbruggen here, and I'd rather have Flecken for 4 and 5 anyway, because I just think like for 0.5, having a Brighton goalkeeper for just 2 games really isn't worth it, because I'm going to be playing Flecken for a considerable amount of time after that. So yeah, I think he's just a standout option given the fixtures, and I'm fine just to let him ride the next 2, knowing that Verbruggen probably won't go like parabolic and haul massive. Sure, he might get 1, even 2 clean sheets, but I don't think the disparity in the end when you use that 0.5 somewhere else will be particularly big, if at all.
Yeah, I definitely agree, to be fair. When I did wildcard draft the other day, I had Flecken in, and like you say, those 2 weeks just kind of aren't worth it for the rest of the time that you've got your team anyway. So yeah, I agree on that one. Then, so you've got Robertson in here. A lot of people have Trent, but you've gone with Robertson. Presumably that's just a funds thing.
Yeah, it is a fun thing. I mean, I think he's looked good anyway. So you see at Fulham in pre-season, you had Iwobi stretching really wide, and then you saw Robinson underlapping as well as overlapping within the game. And I think we've seen a similar thing with Robertson. Like Diaz will go wide at times, and Robertson really will push into that almost like half space, like slightly outside of it type of area. And with his quality of delivery and running strength, I think he at 6 is genuinely a good option. I do prefer Trent, but in terms of funds, we've got to go Robbo, and he still provides the upside, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, that million goes quite a long way when we're trying to fit in all these other kind of forwards and mids as well, so makes sense. Konsa's not one we need to speak about too much, really, I guess. He'd be in most wildcards, I presume, or a Villa defender anyway. So yeah, their fixtures are just great, so just makes sense to have him in. And then so you've gone Colwill. That's not one I've seen in many drafts. Talk me through that.
Yeah, he was probably the 15th spot. He was the one that I was really umming and ahhing about. I think I just went for a defender that is that 4-5, has secure minutes and decent fixtures. There's not really many options in the defensive department on the market. Like I like Ait-Nouri when Wolves' fixtures turn, but that's still a way down the line. Sure, I could have persisted with Robinson, but the fixtures, they're not brilliant. Yeah, sure, the next 2 are at home, but they're still not brilliant. And thus, I just decided I don't mind Colwill. He's okay in the air from set pieces. So potentially you could get one. Like I said, he's the 15th spot. And I definitely do think he's the weak link. And I wouldn't mind to see another defender in his place. Maybe like a Mazraoui, a Pinnock if you wanted to double Flecken and block yourself from Vissa. But yeah, I think he's okay.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I think it does seem, I mean, I'm no Chelsea expert. You're probably better on this than me. But it seems like Colwill, Fofana will be the 2 in there. I mean, Fofana's not even been included in the Europa squad, right? So it seems like they will probably be the 2. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, Colwill just has that left centre back role nailed down. I think he's the best left centre back at the club. So fair enough.
Yeah, for sure. Then Porro, for me, Porro obviously is this week's fixture. He's first on the bench here. This week's fixture isn't good. It's almost as bad as it gets, really. But I think he's probably 0.5 underpriced, maybe at 5.5. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him at 6 million, even though Spurs' defence is pretty bad.
Yeah, I think like in an ideal world, he would be like 5.75 million. I think he's too good to be classified with the rest of the 5.0s and accessible in a 0.5 jump. But at the same time, he plays for Spurs in a system that's slightly chaotic at times and not particularly good for clean sheets. So you can't pair him with the premiums. So yeah, I think at 5.5 he is just a little underpriced. I'm not expecting Spurs to keep too many clean sheets, but with the likelihood of attacking returns from him, I think he's just safe, and you can just keep him for a long period of time because when he does clean, then like you're in a really good scenario. Even if he like gets one clean every 3 games, and then you're building on those attacking returns, especially because like the positioning and the volume of shots could lead to goals. I think it's okay. He's one I'm a little bit on the fence about, but he's just a set and forget type that allows me to really focus on the midfield and attack with transfers down the line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even last weekend when I'd benched him, but I think he had the most shots in the game against Newcastle. He's quite scary to watch if you don't have him in your team or you're not playing him for sure. So moving on, we won't bother talking about Ben Johnson because it's just a 4 million clearly. The midfield, okay, so you've got a double up on Chelsea with Palmer. Does he become Saka in 6, or I guess his next two are much better than Saka's? But yeah, does he become Saka? What's the thinking around that?
Yeah, so with this draft, obviously, like we were building it intentionally without Salah to showcase something different for those who didn't want that. So I wanted an established premium. He does become Saka in 6. I think the next two are fine, Bournemouth away and then West Ham away. I think he may be even a captain option in game week 5. I think West Ham have been poor defensively. You've been able to get through them a bit too much. I don't love their midfield balance either. So with him playing at the top of the midfield blocks, running off Jackson, such a high volume of actions in general, set pieces, penalties, I do think he's solid. And yeah, then you just transition to Saka in 6. The rest of the midfield, I mean, I don't think the fixtures are actually that good outside of Leicester at home, but I do think at 6.9, you're getting so much for that price that I don't think I could pass it up. At 7.5, I'd really be looking at making moves elsewhere, but at 6.9, I don't think I can. Obviously, we've got Mbeumo here. We've got him a little bit early because we're not really looking to make that transfer. We've obviously got to get Gabriel in 6 as well through Robertson. So Mbeumo's here a little bit early on, but it's okay. I think he can definitely get something away at Spurs, and then City, you're just being hopeful. And then with regards to the last midfielder, I like what I've seen from West Ham's attack, not so much the defense, but I thought Bowen's looked really sharp. And the fixtures are cool, like Fulham away, Chelsea. Then you've got Brentford, who I don't think are like the best defense in the world, not the worst, but not the best, and Ipswich. So I do think that he could be a really reliable option and a nice differential.
Yeah, for sure. To be fair, I like the fixtures are better than they look. I think if you look at like the ticker or on the official app or wherever, there's kind of like oranges and stuff, but they don't play an elite defense for quite a while. And the West Ham attack is pretty good, I'd say. It would be...
Yeah.
He just seems somewhat expensive, given that he's not on penalties. Obviously, you've got Eze and Mbeumo here, but he just doesn't seem worth that extra over them, weirdly. But yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, I'm pairing them here, but I do think in isolation, you probably want to go Mbeumo Eze for saving the money.
Yeah, for sure. And then up front, you've got the standard... or well, somewhat standard Haaland, João Pedro, but you've also got Havertz.
Yeah, I mean, João Pedro is pretty simple. I think he'll be great for expected minutes and against penalties. So at 5.5, even though he's got some difficult fixtures after these two, I think it's still fine because Brighton are good enough to beat, or at least cause problems, or at least score against those bigger sides, especially him. He's already got 2 right against United and Arsenal. Haaland, I mean, I think he's just the best player in the game at the moment and the best player in the league. So he remains. And Havertz, I think you really want triple Arsenal in 6. I don't think you want to give yourself too much legwork whereby you have to get all 3 of them in 6, like as some part of a hit or benching one of them. I do also think that he's good in the big games for the fact that like he can exploit space in behind well, especially when there's a lot of transitions in the game. He's strong, he's quick, he's well suited to that. So given his zonal dominance as well in that 9 role, good expected minutes, I'm more than happy to have him.
Yeah, like you said, I definitely think you need at least one of them now so that you're not having to make too many moves in 6. And not that we've seen Havertz really play in the 8 too much this season, but you know that you're going to get him in the 9 against the bigger teams, against teams
exactly.
in the City game. So, yeah, I do like that a lot. The bench is mainly just Porro and then not too much else going on. But with the players you've got in the 11, there isn't really too many minutes risks anyway. So, doesn't seem like too much of a problem. But yeah, this is mainly based on if you were only going with one premium and that premium was Haaland. Obviously, there's loads of drafts flying around with Haaland and Salah. But yeah, this one looks good. So if any of you fancy that, then this is about probably as good as it gets. So yeah, anything else on it, mate?
Yeah, I think like you've really got to be confident about Salah not going parabolic in 5 to go with this draft. I think if you're not wildcarding, then yeah, sure, it's fine to leave him out, right? Because you got to take a risk somewhere. But obviously captaincy is a big thing in 5, so I think you have to be comfortable captaining either one of Foden, Palmer or Haaland. And the other thing I would say is, as much as I hope it doesn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised if Havertz plays left 8 now that Rice isn't there against Spurs. So that is another thing to know if you did want to maybe start with Saka or start with Gabriel and then make the 2 moves elsewhere. I'm hoping he still plays at 9. I really don't know who Arteta will start at left 8 because he doesn't have too much depth there.
Yeah, and I suppose we haven't really seen kind of Arsenal without Rice too much in the last year or so. So it will be interesting to see how he does that, yeah. But yeah, that's all for this one. Thank you for coming on, mate. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.